time for Overtime with Scott Woodmansee. Let's go live to the stadium in Bismarck, North Dakota. It's time for Overtime with Scott Woodmansee.
Hey, top of the morning and happy pre-Halloween, everyone. Todd Darmre's Nick Hallberg. It's Overtime with Scott Woodmansee without Scott Woodmansee today. Scott's on assignment. That's how we're going to phrase it today, Nick. It's on assignment. That's what Woody is today, on assignment, as he is enjoying the USA Hall of Fame hockey game down in Nashville as the Fighting Hawks will be taking on Penn State tonight. And so great experience, I'm sure, for Chuck and Woody, as Chuck Claremont and Woody, our two PSP colleagues, are down enjoying that. So I'm sure those guys are having a great time.
Yeah, good morning, everyone, by the way. And I have to tell you that I love stuff like this, a Saturday morning sports show and being at the Lodge and Stadium here in beautiful Bismarck. But this is one time that I really wish I was actually Scott Woodmansee today, watching North Dakota take on Penn State. Absolutely hope they have a great time down there, and what a fun event as well. TD, there's going to be a lot of green and white inside of the Nashville area here today, and I'm sure throughout the weekend. Great event. Two good hockey teams that are going to rumble in the Hall of Fame game. I
saw a few things on social media last night, and there was a lot of green floating around Nashville and some of the establishments and whatnot. So that should be a raucous environment, as it always is. Hey, if you're a sports fan right now, this is a great time of the year, folks, and we got a lot to get to today on our overtime session. But first, just a quick recap of what happened last night as you had World Series action as the Atlanta Braves win last night in Game 3, 2-0 in shutout fashion to take a 2-1 series lead over the Houston Astros. So you got Game 4 tonight. You got a big day of college football, Nick, as you got Michigan and Michigan State just starting up here in a few minutes. Of course, the local college teams are all in action today, as you'll have Indiana State at NDSU to face the Thundering Herd. That's a 2:30 p.m. start. You got UND on the road today. The Fighting Hawks will be at Missouri State. That's a 2 p.m. start. You got Concordia St. Paul in town here, right across the street at the Community Bowl in Bismarck to take on the University of Mary. That's a 2 p.m. start. And so it's just a whole slate of college football today that'll be fun for everybody around the state. And then you got big-time college football action. You can catch it all right here at the Stadium Lodge and all their TVs and get your food and drinks and take care of business that way. So big day. And then you kind of look at the national slate from an NFL standpoint, and you look at that football game on Thursday night, the other night, and the Packers and Cardinals right down to the wire. I was cringing. I really wanted that thing to go to overtime or see the Cardinals find a way to win. But anyway, I digress. But what a finish to that football game as we kind of hit mid-season now for the NFL.
Yeah, that was beautiful. By the way, those Thursday night games used to be games that were kind of the garbage games, a little more TV time, and one more night for the broadcast companies to have the opportunity to have some ad revenue and things like that. Not that one. You get two football teams with one combined loss on the year and two quarterbacks that at different times in their careers going toe-to-toe and a dogfight. I have to tell you, though, I missed the end of that football game. Good friend of mine that I grew up playing hockey with, his name was Matt Lazat. His younger brother worked his way up from high school hockey in North Dakota up to the Minot Minotauros in the North American Hockey League, off to St. Cloud State, all the way up to the American Hockey League. He got the call up from the Minnesota Wild, and they were on the road taking on the Seattle Kraken on that same Thursday night. And I have to tell you the truth, I turned off the Packer and Cardinal game to watch Minnesota that night and have John Lazat, the former Minot Minotauro, skate for the first time in the NHL. It was a fair trade, though, because Johnny Lazat had a pretty good game.
That's a cool story, and I love the nickname of the new new Seattle franchise, the Kraken. I like that.
What do you think of that color?
Are you a fan of that?
I think I am.
I'm not a fan of the color scheme and the uniforms, but I am a fan of the name.
I think it will grow on a guy, too, kind of like San Jose did back in the day. But I'm an old school guy. I'm a Blackhawks guy where, you get that old school logo and the red and the black and the white. That's kind of me, and that's a little more up my alley, I guess. But, yeah, nevertheless, it sounds like their area and that whole city of Seattle's really embracing NHL hockey again, which is pretty neat also.
Of course, we mentioned that NFL season in full swing now. Sunday night game will be a big one as the Vikings will host the Dallas Cowboys in what should be a high-scoring affair. You got the NHL season, as we just kind of highlighted with the Kraken. And, hey, the Minnesota Wild are near the top of the Central standings, so they're off to a good start. The NBA season is underway as the T-Wolves, hey, they went into Milwaukee the other night and picked up a win over the defending NBA champions. They're off to a 3-1 start. And then, hey, locally again, you got Class B volleyball districts, getting rolling here. You got high school and college swimming. You got cross country that just finished. You got college hoops just around the corner. Right now is a great time to be a sports fan.
I have to ask you, in your mind, is it now? Is it this time right here in playoff football? Or is it when we go the other direction and it's playoff basketball, playoff hockey time at the end of the year? There's nothing like the State B and the State A tournaments and state hockey, of course, but this is kind of that thunder at the beginning of that thunderstorm where you get rolling and you get that anticipation going, TD, which is interesting to me. If you had to pick one, is this your favorite time, or is it the end of March when we get back into baseball and those other sports?
Well, I'm a basketball guy, Nick, so my favorite day of the year is when you're at that Thursday, and it's the opening day of the Final Four, and it's the Thursday of the State Class B Boys basketball tournament in North Dakota. That day just trumps everything for me right there. But right now is cool because, as you said, you kind of got a lot of things in full swing with playoffs and the NFL season, and then you got these other seasons just starting up. So it's really the one time of the year that you get all those major sports all happening at the same time.
It's crazy how quick it turns to, TD, when you look at it. I was going through high school hockey schedules the other day, and there isn't much of a gap on the boys' side of athletics and high school sports from the football season into hockey, into basketball. It happens just like that, and before you know it, it's going to be tournament time in the winter again, which is it's crazy how time flies. But when it's sports and what, so many people, not only in Bismarck, around the state of North Dakota, what we live for is high school athletics in the winter time and those college athletics. It's a fun time of year, nevertheless, like you mentioned. And I don't know, if you've got a nice big screen TV and a comfy couch, I don't know where else you would want to be except if you're Chuck and Woody down in Nashville actually at the game.
It's kind of quiet at the Stadium Lodge right now. The doors will open here at 11 o'clock this morning. But right now, heck, we could put our feet up here, take in everything that we need to take in. But in a few minutes, they'll be getting ready. They got a cook-off today, again, as they have been doing every Saturday here at the Stadium Lodge. It's the game day kickoff cook-off. I have to look at that before I say it because that's a mouthful for me. But today's soup is the soup du jour today. So we will have all kinds of soups being cooked off, and they do that for a couple hours right up until the Bison kickoff at 2:30. So we got a big show lined up today. Before we get to that lineup, though, hey, there was a little thing by the name of the high school football playoffs in North Dakota. The 11AA and the 11A playoffs got rolling last night in North Dakota. Let's run through the scoreboard and kind of set those matchups, do a quick recap on those games. Let's talk about the big schools first. Your number one overall seed, West Fargo Cheyenne, took care of Minot High School 28-6 the final there. Fargo Shanley in a shootout. There was a lot of points in that board in the first half, just 7 points in the second half, but Shanley wins over Mandan. Final there 35-20. Bismarck Century takes care of their crosstown rival in shutout fashion, 28-zip. The Patriots blank the Bismarck High School Demons. And another shutout on that side of the bracket as West Fargo High School defeats Bismarck Legacy 31-0. So now your 11 AA semifinals next weekend looks like this. Weekend on Friday night it is, looks like this. West Fargo Cheyenne will host Shanley, and Century will host West Fargo. So the seeds held up. All the home teams won in the 11 AA bracket.
There were some surprises there, really, not with who won, but some of those scores. That Minot game, for example, and Cheyenne. There's no question about it that Cheyenne and Century are the two teams in my mind in North Dakota 2A football that will be in contention at the end of the year. Of course, we got to play the games. At semifinal time, anything can happen. I'm not saying that. We just know that if you are a betting man, it's Century and Cheyenne. That's been the talk all year. Minot kind of hung in there pretty well. And, on the other side, you look at Legacy getting blanked there. I didn't see that one maybe potentially going the way that one did either. So some opening round playoff scores that maybe weren't where we thought they would be. And some teams maybe fared a little better. Some teams maybe a little worse. But at the end of the day, in 2A football last night, I think everybody that had the chips on the table probably walked away with them with those bets on the upper seeded teams.
And you get a rematch in some respects now in the semifinals as Century defeated West Fargo early on in the season 41-13. Cheyenne and Shanley had a great game, went right down to the wire. West Fargo Cheyenne winning by a touchdown in that one. So it'll be good, as they always are, interesting semifinal matchups in the 2A bracket. Let's turn our attention to the opening round of the 11A playoffs and a game we had last night on the PSP network. St. Mary's gets a couple hundred yards rushing and 3 touchdowns from Isaac Felkley, and they defeat the Devils Lake Firebirds 37-13. And then a surprise, well, maybe not. It's a 5 versus a 4 seed, but the 5-seeded Dickinson Midgets defeat Fargo South 9-7. Then your other semifinals had Jamestown shutting out Red River 35-0, and Fargo North takes care of Wahpeton 41-12. Your AA or the 11A finals then, St. Mary's will semifinals. St. Mary's will host Dickinson next Friday night, and Jamestown will host Fargo North. So, hey, just one seed fell in that particular bracket, but I was impressed last night with the St. Mary's Saints.
Yeah, St. Mary's was the real deal. I think that you saw they've got when you look at the 11A schools, to me, or the 11B schools, or that 9-man stuff, compared to the big dogs, the Cheyennes and the Centuries of the world, St. Mary's is obviously a smaller school. And when you look at that lineup, Devils Lake, same thing. St. Mary's not only has some big kids, but they've got some big athletic kids and some guys. That Wycombe kid last night, my goodness, I was walking into the stadium, setting some camera stuff up. I'm thinking of the right kid here, right?
Yep.
I'm walking in, and he was walking in at the same time, and I'm like, "Is the NDSU bus here? What is this? This kid's huge. He was a monster, you know." And he played that way too last night. I mean, big and mean and tough, and then the skill guys coming up big for St. Mary's last night as well. They're just top to bottom. They are going to be tough to beat down the stretch these next 2 games. If that second game is there for them, they would certainly like to be there. And of course, got to love the conversation that you had with Coach Smeeker after the ball game. You know, he's just such a legend, and you know that's the ace in the hole for those guys as well. They are very impressive. In your mind, TD, can anybody touch them down the stretch here? I know it's playoff time and anything can happen, but
yeah, I mean, the one time that somebody did get St. Mary's this year, the turnover bug hit them. So that would be the one way that a team could take advantage of the St. Mary's Saints. But man, they are clicking right now on all cylinders. Their defense is playing well, and offensively, the run-pass combination has been excellent. And so that's a team to be reckoned with. Okay, and then obviously today you got a big day in North Dakota high school football as you got the 11B quarterfinals and also the 9B quarterfinals, as those playoff brackets have already started. Obviously, there's been games played, but here's your matchups today in 11B. You got Hillsboro Central Valley hosting Central Cass. You got Bishop Ryan hosting Velva Garrison. That's a rivalry game right there if there ever was one. Kindred will take on the defending state champions Langdon area Edmore Munich. Kindred's the home team there. And Bowman County, the Bulldogs, will host Des Lacs Burlington. There's your 4 quarterfinal 11B playoff matchups. And then, of course, you got your 9B playoff matchups today. Number 1, Lemoore Litchville Marion will take on the Grant County Storm. Botno will host Nelson County. A game we're going to have right here on the PSP network, 2 p.m. kickoff, 1:40 pregame. New Salem Almont will host Divide County in a game that features 2 teams with just 1 loss between them. And then Cavalier takes on Surrey in a 2 p.m. kick up in Cavalier. So a whole host of games, and most of those folks are 2 o'clock starts today, but there's a couple evening games that Bishop Ryan Velva game is a 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock start tonight, I beg your pardon, at Herb Parker Stadium. So that should be a great day of high school football across the state. And hey, our show today is sprinkled with high school football, as the folks we've got lined up today for you on the Overtime Show with Scott Woodmansee. We'll start off the morning here, and we'll get a visit with Tim Harchie from North Border Football. And hey, their playoffs have already ended. 6-man. The 6-man state champions, the North Border Eagles from Northeast North Dakota. We'll talk with Coach Harchie. Then Nick had a chance to catch up, and we'll visit with Roger Coleman, a good friend of yours, and we'll talk to him this morning about his matchup tonight against the Velva Aggies and the Velva Garrison Aggies. And then we'll visit with Abby Pollard about UMary volleyball and the trend that the Marauders are on right now. And then we get to the 11 o'clock hour. We'll bring in a familiar name to Capital City folks, Kenyon Wingenbach, the new Century, the former Century assistant, now the Cheyenne girls basketball coach. And then we'll round out the show this morning, an abbreviated show, because We got to get to New Salem. We got a little football game this afternoon. We'll round out the show this morning. We'll get a word with Jamie Krenz as he's the Grant County Flasher Storm football coach. His team taking on number 1 Lemoore Litchfield Marion this afternoon. So, hey, a great lineup, great show. Keep it locked in. We'll bring it to you live from the Stadium Lodge. They'll open at 11 and come on in. Get your drinks, get your food, full-service menu right here at the Stadium Lodge. More Overtime with Scott Woodmansee after this timeout on the PSP Network.
You remember where this goes?
I don't know.
Are you sure it was a clicking and not a zoom, zoom?
I think your quash litter valve's stuck.
Do you even have insurance?
If we soak it, it should be good.
No matter how much you know or don't know about your vehicle, trust the experts at Tires Plus. Real answers from real mechanics.
Purchase 4 eligible Firestone tires and receive up to $120 in a prepaid Visa gift card. Thinking service? Think Tires Plus.
With 28 on the shot clock, 53 on the game clock, sends it inside. Here's Allie Nelson to the right side. Cheddar's open, 4-3. On low, she scores!
PSP Network has one mission: promoting our local athletes while delivering pro-quality broadcast coverage. Stay up to date with the PSP Network on Twitter, @NetworkPSP, and on Facebook, @The PSP Network. Like and follow our social media for your chance to win. PSP Network, it's game day. Whether you're looking for a full-service financial plan or planning for farm or business succession, Planning Team Financial Advisors is here to help you work toward achieving your financial goals. With locations in Bismarck, Garrison, and Center, our full-service team of professionals are dedicated to helping you work towards achieving your financial goals. Visit us online, planningteam.com. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member of FINRA and SIPC. Investment advice offered through GWM Advisors, LLC, doing business as Goss Advisors, a registered investment advisor. GWM Advisors, LLC, and Planning Team Financial Advisors are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Had real questions about your future.
And overtime with Scott Woodmansee.
For Overtime with Scott Woodmansee. Scott on assignment today in Nashville as the Fighting Hawks are playing hockey down there, so Scott's enjoying that. And be sure to join us at the Stadium Lodge. They got everything you need on tap, large food menu, outdoor patio, all the specials. And today they got a game day cook-off for a couple hours before the Bison kick it off at 2:30 this afternoon. The Stadium Sports Lounge and Lodge, 1247 West Divide Avenue in Bismarck. We're pleased now to kick off our show this morning and be joined by head coach of the North Border Eagles. That's Tim Hartshey. And oh, by the way, his Eagles just won the state 6-man football title in North Dakota. So, hey, good morning, Coach. Congratulations on the state championship.
Good morning, and thank you, and glad to be here today.
So I know a lot of folks, at least in the capital city of Bismarck, are familiar with 6-man football because Center Stanton, a team that's about 30 or so miles away, plays in the 6-man league. But hey, we got a lot of folks that this might be their first exposure to 6-man football. So we first got to break a little bit of this down, Tim, before we get to your season and the championship. But 6-man football, there's certainly some differences there, including an 80-yard field and a couple other elements, with the 1st and 15 and the conversions and how the points work and everything else. So for your team moving from 9-man football to 6-man football, how did you adjust to these different variables as a 6-man team?
Yeah, it was a big adjustment, the field being 40 by 80, and you're starting out on 1st and 15, and yeah, so, day one of practice, we pretty much sat down for the first half hour, 45 minutes, and just talked about some of the different rules and things that we have to do different. And one of the big things for us was now everybody can go out for a pass. Everybody's eligible, so you just can't beat, if you're playing nose tackle, you beat the center. Well, that might be your guy in coverage now, so maybe you got to, hit the brakes hard and turn and run with the guy.
So does it force you almost into, being everyone's eligible, do you play a little bit more man coverage then, or can you get away with some cloud or some zone type of things, or how does that all play out?
we played pretty strictly man, and we passed the guy off to somebody else every once in a while. We looked at a zone. We played against some zones. To me, zones are really hard to play in six-man. Even though the field's narrower, there's a lot of space. You can run a guy into a zone and sit him down, and he's kind of wide open. So we like to play a lot of man.
Yeah, and then the other aspect that I find interesting is, the quarterback can't run the football unless he's pitched or handed off the football from somebody else. And so that's a unique element to the equation as well.
Yeah, it is. So the guy that gets the initial snap cannot run the ball past the line of scrimmage. It's the next guy can. So you'll see a lot of, they'll snap it to, let's say, the running back, and they'll pitch it back, and then that guy can run or pass. In our offense, we did a little bit of that, but most of our was kind of a conventional 9-man looking offense.
Sure thing. So let's talk about the transition from 9-man to 6-man. Obviously, that's a big decision. It's a numbers equation for a lot of schools, a lot of communities, a lot of co-ops. And so tell us a little bit about how that played out specifically for the North Border Eagles.
Yeah, I always call the spring of COVID when we started looking at this. Our numbers were going to be down significantly. We were looking at, maybe 14 guys or so, and a couple of them would be freshmen, that hadn't played yet. So we made a decision to go to 6-man and to play it then. But then last year we had a very good season. We ended up 8-2, won a playoff game in 9-man, and so that's the decision. In the meantime, after we made that decision, we had a couple kids move into town. We had some kids that were playing or running cross country or not playing sports at all, decided to come back. So now we are going to move back to 9-man because we are looking at 17, 18 kids for next year's team.
Well, and it's one of those situations where I'm sure there was some folks who were like, well, why are we doing this? And you get the armchair quarterbacks and the second guessers. But hey, if you're going to have 6-man football for 1 year, you might as well win a state championship, right? I guess it from that respect, it played out pretty well for the Eagles.
Yeah, we did have a lot of armchair quarterbacks and people that weren't real happy, but we asked to go back at one point last fall, and the state said the deadline's passed and they can't do that. So, as coaching staff, me and the other coaches, we said, all right, while we're here, we're going to win this. So we started preparing to play a 6-man season, and that's what we told the kids all summer and into the starting fall. Hey, we're here. Let's go win every game and go win the championship and go out as champions. And that's what we did.
And let's talk about the run through the season. Obviously, you guys finished undefeated. There's a lot of travel involved in 6-man football. I mean, you got a couple teams that are in close proximity in Drayton and some others, but you had to put some miles on for your football team this year.
Yeah, we did. A little fun fact, we're a co-op school with Pembina and Walhalla, and we have Nittany too. So there's 3 schools, 3 towns, 2 schools. I drive the bus also. So I just did our miles the other day. We drove 1,910 miles just to practice this year. So you think about, we spent 33 hours in the bus traveling back and forth to practice. So, we put a lot of miles on. We put about 1,300 miles on going to games. So it's roughly, we're pushing 3,300 miles for the year traveling.
Wow, that's a pile. And, the one thing that struck me, though, is the enthusiasm and the way the community's rallied around the teams. I saw your send-off for the state championship game last weekend when you had the police and the fire escort out of town, and so that was pretty cool to see. That's Class B sports for me right there in North Dakota.
Yeah, it is. That's Class B sports. Everybody rallied around. We had a great send-off last week, and then Sunday we got home. We had a nice pep rally, kind of a welcome home victory party also. So, yeah, the crowd and the community really get behind us.
So for a team that had some success in 9-man the year ago, and as you mentioned, you made it all the way to the playoffs and had a win in the playoffs before being defeated by who was then undefeated, the Lemoore Litchfield Marion. And then you brought some kids back off of that team and had an athletic team kind of across the board. But I want to talk about one kid, a quarterback, defensive end for the North Border Eagles, Jackson Johnson. He, by the looks of it, had a phenomenal type of season. Just talk about the impact he had on your football team this year.
Yeah, Jackson, last year he was a first-team All-State linebacker in 9-man. And this year in the 6-man. He ended up being the North Dakota Player of the Year, and he's 6'5", very athletic, can run, jump. He can. We haven't played him at quarterback at all. I mean, maybe a little bit in the past, but he's really never been the quarterback for us. So he had excellent passing this year, ran the ball well, but defensively is where he really stand out. He flies all over the football field. In 6-man, you got to be able to move, and he can really move.
I saw another thing where you guys look like you hand out a horse of the week, a hog of the week, a regular of the week. I'm guessing that Jackson Johnson, playing a defensive end, as talented as he, and he was probably a regulator of the week a couple different times. Am I right about that?
Yeah, he has. I think maybe Jackson maybe won them all three at one point of this year in different weeks. We hand out T-shirts every week where to the kind of the player of the week in that the offense, the lineman, and the defensive player.
Visiting with Tim Hartge, the head coach of the North Border Eagles, won the state 6-man football title this year in North Dakota. And hey, Coach, talk about this aspect. I mean, every year there's challenges, there's adversity that comes up. And, boy, the schools in Walhalla and Pembina and the community of Netchie, you guys had some adversity in a couple different directions this year during the football season. So just talk about that, how you overcame that, and then ultimately capitalized and won a state championship.
Yeah, it's been a tough year. We had a history teacher diagnosed a little over a year ago with cancer, and he lost his battle on September 29th to cancer. This summer we had a football player diagnosed with cancer and Hodgkin's lymphoma, and luckily now he come to practice. I think it was before our first playoff game. He goes, "Hey, I got something to tell you guys," and he told us he was cancer free. So that was huge news for us. And then unfortunately, right before we were going to leave, the Friday we were going to leave for the state title, we had a classmate that passed away. So we've had a lot of sad tears, happy tears, and sad tears and happy tears again this year.
Yeah, I bet. And hey, talk about the state championship game. You guys squared off against Center Stanton. It was at Dwayne Carlson Field, a great facility in Minot. And talk about that particular game and the atmosphere and getting the kids on that field turf and playing that state title game in Minot.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. They had a third and fourth game against Drake Animus and Trenton, and Tracy Peterson and Steve Heim. They kind of took care of everything. They had the field set up nice for us, nice place to play. That's the first time I've been into that stadium at Dwayne Carlson, and it was a really great atmosphere, and the kids came out ready to play.
So as you look forward now, obviously back to 9-man, how do the numbers look for North Border and for the Eagle football program to kind of propel that decision to push you guys back into the 9-man ranks?
At the start of this year, the first few games, we dressed 11, I think, for the first 2 or 3 games this year. Because we had a couple of kids on the injury and a couple of kids that didn't have enough practices. But we ended up the year, I think, with 15. And, so we're going to be next year the way it looks like 17, 18 kids with our freshman class coming in.
Sure thing. So if I'm not mistaken, based on the pigskin preview, this was the first football title for North Border. Is that a true statement?
Yes, that is.
Hey, congratulations. What a way to do it. I mean, this will be one of those that you kind of look back on and say, hey, yeah, that was the year we did that. And, oh, by the way, we won a title. So it had to be a good feeling.
Yeah, it was a great feeling. We've had a few naysayers along the line say, it really doesn't count. But you know what? They weren't at practice every day. They weren't at the games. They didn't see how hard these kids worked every day. To them, they wanted to go out and win every game and win a title, and that's just what they did.
Well, great job, Coach. Congratulations. I'm sure the communities of Walhalla, Pembina, and Netchie are excited. Hey, and for me, I've been through Netchie because my dad used to play softball in Gretna and Altoona, so, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, all 3 great little communities that really take pride in all their school activities.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, great job, Coach. Congratulations on the state title and continued success to the North Border Eagles football program.
Thanks a lot.
All right, that's Tim Hartge, the head coach for the North Border Eagles, 6-man state football champions in North Dakota here. Our overtime session rolls on this morning, and we come back. We'll visit with the head coach of the Minot Bishop Ryan Lions. That's Roger Coleman. We'll have that and more as we come back to the Stadium and Lodge with overtime.
project, Bobcat of Mandan has a tough Bobcat skid steer or track loader for any job. Call Bobcat of Mandan and rent the perfect machine. Rentals are available by the day, week, or month with multiple attachment options and even a trailer when available. Special weekend rates too. Bobcat of Mandan also has Doosan excavators and payloaders, plus Coyote tractors for rent. Get the work done fast. Bobcat of Mandan on the Strip.
BNC has been here for over 25 years.
We're still a community bank that's there for you.
When you come in with your business plan, your vision, your idea, we can make it a reality.
I love seeing projects come alive for our clients.
We're real people helping real people.
We know you, and we're always happy to see you.
We build relationships. You're part of the BNC family.
We are part of the community.
It's what we're built on.
Yours truly, BNC.
Back to overtime, live at the stadium here in Bismarck, North Dakota. We have the pleasure of being joined on the show by so many great guests. One of them joins us now from Minot and Minot Bishop Ryan. It's the athletic director and head football coach Roger Coleman joins us on the air. Roger, good morning. How are things going today?
Good morning. Pretty good so far.
You guys are looking forward to a big football game, I'd have to assume. Anytime that you get Velva and Ryan together at anything, you know it's going to be a dogfight. You mix in the words playoffs into it. What can we expect out of the football game here on Saturday?
You know, I think it's just going to be an absolute dogfight. Both teams very familiar with each other and like to play a physical brand of football. So, you know, we're expecting a hard-fought battle all the way down to, you know, the last drive or possibly even the last play. And we've been in situations before where we've gone into overtime. So we're really prepared for a tight battle and see where that goes the rest of the game.
Where on the respect scale does Larry Sandy fall for you, Roger? Obviously, that guy's a legend in North Dakota football. On a 1 to 10, where do you put Sandy on your scale of respect for an opposing coach?
He's the highest. He's a 10 for sure. You know, all the time. He and his coaching staff, Matt Weiler, I know runs the defense over there, and we played at Minot State together, so we're pretty familiar and good buddies. So, you know, that coaching staff over there is you know, top notch for sure in this state that I've, you know, as far as the opponents that we go up against. So I'd rate it a 10 for sure.
8-point win earlier on this year against Velva. Anytime that you get the win in the regular season, it's a big one, and the kids like to talk about that, the communities as well. What was the big takeaway from the win and 8-point victory earlier on this year against Velva? Is there one that stands out off the paper to you, Roger?
I thought our defense played really well. We gave up a touchdown early after a turnover. And then our defense played exceptionally well. And then towards the end of the game, they kind of spread us out a little bit, and we didn't have any timeouts left. Weren't really prepared for that. So they got a touchdown late, and then had a chance to try to recover an onside kick to kind of make it a tighter battle. But just been extremely impressed with how our defense played that first game and really how they've been playing all year and in the playoffs, including the win last week.
Yeah, that's a good transition for me. I was just going to talk about the last week against Hazen and a tough Bison team. And you know that when you get Hazen, you're getting your best game each and every night. You had it on your home field at Herb Parker Stadium, campus of Minot State University. You shut the Bison out. The key stat line in that one for me was 3 turnovers forced in the red zone. I mean, your defense that night, there wasn't a whole lot of Achilles heel going on for the Lions on last Saturday, was there?
No, we made some plays when we had to, for sure. And like you said, the turnovers in the red zone is obviously a huge key to that. But even if you look back at the stats, I think we gave up around 130 yards to their offense. So just a credit to our guys executing the game plan and matching the physicality of a big roster team like Hazen.
Where on the scale do you think Jet Lundeen is going to fall onto the radar in his next 3 years? My goodness, only a freshman. I about fell out of my chair sitting there looking at the game notes and getting prepped for that and seeing his first few reps. That kid is the real deal, hey?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. He puts a lot of work in, not just with us, but, you know, he trains basically all summer long. just a kid who loves playing quarterback. He loves thinking the game. As a freshman, he's going to have some of those, oh, man, why'd you make that player make that throw? But, got to give him a little bit of slack there as a freshman because he makes great plays, and he makes more of those than he does the mistakes. So, yeah, he's a special player, and I think, got a very high ceiling over these next 3 years if he keeps working and keeps a good head on his shoulders.
I think for me, when you talk about a freshman quarterback, I mean, one of the things that would come to mind would be just the mental game. You touched on that just a bit, but one of the things that I noticed the most in that ball game against Hazen, you guys got the lead, and his clock management, the rest of that entire ball game was second to none. I mean, we watch a ton of AA football around the state of North Dakota, and he's up there with how he handled that game so well. Where in practice and away from practice, how much time is put into just those fundamentals and working on that clock management? Obviously, you've done a great job with that.
Yeah, I think just overall, I mean, we have a lot of smart kids on our team. They understand football at a pretty good level, and our assistant coaching staff, I think, does a good job of getting them to understand that. And most of our guys, including Jet, that was a situation where you kind of have to remind them, but they're also aware, like, hey, if we score this touchdown, but we can grind out 7 minutes, the game's mostly out of reach. So just, I think the majority of our guys are just really smart football players, understand those situations, and we do talk about them. Probably even not as much as we should, but we really don't need to because we do have smart football players that understand situational football a lot better than on their own, really, with just a little help from us. So yeah, we did a great job managing that game. I think, like you said, better than most teams at almost any level, I thought.
Zach Hendrickson's a player that is special in many ways on that football field. Bishop Ryan and the co-op with our Redeemers. So these kids are going to play basketball against each other and have the fiercest rivalry inside of Region 6 on certain nights when the Knights and Lions get together. But for football, they're on the same field. How great is it having a kid like Zach Hendrickson in your lineup? He certainly is the real deal as well.
Yeah, first touching on that co-op, Jake Stack is a AD over at our Redeemers, and as soon as he took over, it was something I kind of tried to get done when I first got here. And as soon as he jumped on board, we got together right away, and it was the first thing that basically he did as AD over there. So credit to them and their school for allowing us to co-op together. And, not just Zach, but we've had guys, when we went to state championship a couple years ago, we had two guys, Rylan Bibetto, who's still playing for us, and then Cutter Kent, who's graduated, now playing down at Jamestown. Those two kids played huge roles for our team when we had injuries or just stepping up where they needed to in that state championship run. So, it's been a great partnership with them. And then just, talking about Zach's just an incredible playmaker and athlete. And he has just amazing personality where he's never rattled. He's never super high. He's never super low. You're going to get everything you need out of that kid. He's going to give you everything he has, regardless of how he's feeling. And you would never know otherwise. He just got a little smile on his face, and we know when we need a big play that, we got to dial something up for him.
Class B basketball obviously is very big, but on that same note, what's it like turning the page in a few weeks here, going from a football playoff run in the thick of the weeds here back to Region 6 basketball when you see that kid show up at the gym and you have to face him any given night? What is that transition like, and how much fun do you have with that as the athletic director at Bishop Ryan?
Yeah, it's a good time. Now that these kids already had pretty close relationships with them, and although it's a rivalry like on the court, nothing expands outside of that. And a lot of these guys, talk to each other outside of sports as well. And then for me to get to know those guys on a football level, I like to give them a little grief when they come in here and play basketball. And I think last year Zach had just a crazy game, and I just kind of gave him the look like, whatever, Zach. But yeah, it's fun. It's great to have relationships with kids at both schools. And then, like you said, when it expands into the basketball season, it's just, it's been nothing but great.
This year for you guys has been a fun ride and a fun one to watch and follow and be a part of in a small capacity here. 9-1 for the Lions right now, and the first loss of the year came on the opening night against Dickinson Trinity, a 6-point loss. What changed since then? Obviously, Trinity's a good football team, but you guys really haven't looked back since week number 1.
No, I think a lot of it was just getting guys accustomed to new roles. We had I mean, we flipped over probably 60% of our roster, which doesn't seem like a lot of people realize that. But, you know, I think we had 5 guys coming back on offense, 4 on defense, and had an injury up there. So it was just a lot of new guys in new spots. Our whole secondary, other than Zach, turned over. And that's kind of where we struggled, especially early on. And now those guys have just came along at a tremendous pace. So I think just getting guys, you know, more reps and getting comfortable with their roles. And I think we just had to do a better job coaching than we did in the first game and the first few games of the year.
Touch on the region just a little bit here, if you would, Roger, and Region 3 football for North Dakota 11B. You know, obviously there's been some good teams that have been in the mix here, but you look at Orion, you look at a DLB, you look at Velva. It really was a good year for Region 3 football.
Yeah, for sure. And I think coming into the year, everyone thought we weren't going to be very good. And I've heard rumors that they were talking we might get swept in the first round. So proud of how our region has responded and basically showed people that, you know, our region's pretty good at football. I mean, we gave the 1 seed down in Bowman County just a battle all the way to the end with Ned Rose in a 6-point game. So we like to think pretty highly of our region, and I know there were some doubters out there first round. So hopefully that's changed a little bit. And we hope to just prove that we're good football players up here in this region again this week.
Game day, getting ready for it. Velva today taking on your Lions at Herb Parker Stadium. Velva comes in at 8-2. Again, the Lions at 9-1. Final thing for you here today, Roger. Is there a major key that hops off the paper in your game plan that spells success in another round for playoffs coming up next week after today's game? And if so, what would that be?
Well, I mean, we have to stop the run and we have to establish the run. Neither team really ran the ball very well. We didn't run it at all. I mean, I think we averaged less than 2 yards a carry. So I think that's going to be the key to win in this game, is just being able to establish something in the run game. And everybody knows we like to throw the ball more than most teams. So we're still going to do that, but we got to establish something up front in the run game and be able to handle their run game as well. So, you know, it's kind of the battle of the trenches. So it goes in football. So we got to win that to continue moving on.
Sure, appreciate your time. Best of luck here on Saturday. And I tell you what, hoping for a dogfight, it always seems to be when the Aggies and Lions get together. Best of luck, and thanks for everything here, Roger.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You bet. That's Roger Coleman, the head coach and athletic director of the Bishop Ryan Lions, when we come back to Overtime with Scott Woodmansee, TD, and I, who are filling in, have more great guests coming up here on the show. It's Overtime, live from the stadium.
For your glasses? See clearly with LASIK from Bismarck LASIK. Imagine no more hassles or expenses of glasses and contacts. At Bismarck LASIK, our highly experienced LASIK surgeon, Dr. Stephen Wexler, and our state-of-the-art clinic can improve your vision through a quick corrective procedure that's affordable and life-changing. Book your free consultation with Bismarck LASIK. Call 701-222-2020, 701-222-2020, or schedule online at bismarcklasik.com.
The North Dakota Safety Council is dedicated to preventing injuries and saving lives by offering hundreds of safety courses. The NDSC helps workers return home safely every night and make sure schools are ready for any emergency. Our first aid training and defensive driving courses help save lives. We empower people through personal protection courses and operational risk assessments for businesses. We're a private, nonprofit organization committed to making North Dakota's homes, schools, communities, workplaces, and roads the safest in the nation. Learn more at ndsc.org.
Have real questions about your future? Here's your real answer. BSC offers hands-on training and a real college experience, making your future a reality. You don't have to travel far and wide for a really great education. Check us out at bismarckstate.edu.
Got big plans? No matter what the size of the project, Bobcat of Mandan has a tough Bobcat skid steer or track loader for any job. Call Bobcat of Mandan and rent the perfect machine. Rentals are available by the day, week, or month with multiple attachment options and even a trailer when available. Special weekend rates too. Bobcat of Mandan also has Doosan excavators and payloaders, plus Coyote tractors for rent. Get the work done fast. Bobcat of Mandan on the Strip.
Let's go back to the stadium and overtime with Scott Woodmansee.
Todd Domries, Nick Holberg filling in for Scott Woodmansee, who's on assignment today. Hey, folks, don't forget to stop by the Stadium Lodge. Danny and the team will take care of your needs here. And, hey, what goes better with drinks and sports? Food, pizza, burgers, appetizers, much, much more. Stop by here for lunch, dinner, and make the Stadium Lodge your pre- and post-game headquarters for your local sports teams. And, hey, fans, we're pleased now to have joining us today Abby Pollarts, the new women's volleyball head coach at the University of Mary. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Hey, top of the morning, and I guess first thing I want to ask you, Abby, is who says you can't come home, right? As a former assistant at the University of Mary, you're now back as the head women's volleyball coach. Talk about that journey kind of coming back to the University of Mary.
Yeah, it's been a big blessing overall to get back here. It was a great place to be the first time around, and had an opportunity to go get my feet wet as a head coach for a couple of years, and then obviously come back. And it was a little bit of a no-brainer for me when that call came with this opportunity. And obviously it's been a quick turnaround and a whirlwind, but I'm really glad to be here.
I wanted to ask you about that next, because obviously coming on board in July and then having to have camp and then matches starting in September, I guess my question is, have you had a chance to take a breath yet?
Not very often. It's in season is like that normally, right? But moving, a couple of states away and establishing a staff and then really getting to know the young women that are a part of this program in a short amount of time. But like I said, it's gone better than I could have anticipated going, and that's been wonderful.
So myself, as a Marauder alumni, I always like seeing you, Mary, do well. And I have to give a quick shout out to Jenny Walsh, who's a great friend of us here at the PSP Network. She connected you and I. So you mentioned your staff and getting that group together. I don't know if you could have picked somebody better in Bismarck-Mandan in the North Dakota region here than Jenny Walsh to kind of come in and be a part of a volleyball staff.
Oh, no doubt. Her wisdom of the game, her knowledge of the area, and her love for Marauder athletics as well is awesome. And she just has such a great energy about her. So to have her on the sideline and in the office to throw ideas off of and have conversations with and just bring what she so much of brings to our program is a great thing for us.
So let's talk about your conference. Obviously, the NSIC is a premier D2 conference in the country. And, boy, can you put into words, I guess, how tough of a volleyball conference this is on a night-in and night-out basis?
I think I've used the word ruthless multiple times this season. In a good way, though, right? Like the best way for us to continue to get better is to play the best in the country. And, we're seeing that almost week in and week out with this conference. So, at one point this season, I think the top half of our conference was all either receiving votes or ranked in the top 25 in the country. So, it's a challenge, but it's awesome to see, us be competitive this year against some of those top teams and pushing them. And, it's a great way for our young women to see, hey, this is where we want to go. And it's attainable, but we're going to have to put work to do it.
And Abby, the Marauders are on a bit of a roll. Let's talk about your current 3-match winning streak, consecutive wins against Bemidji, Crookston, and Minot State. And what have you liked about how your squad has been performing these last 3 matches?
Yeah, it's one of those things we have talked constantly since we got here about, trusting the process and buying into what may not be instantaneous success, but in the long run is going to be what we want. And that is really a testament to what we've had happen here in the last couple of weeks. This team has really bought into some of the culture changes that we brought in right away. And then, on top of that, to just see them put the work in practice, some big things with that, seeing consistency, especially in our side out percentage. our pass and serve game, and then that equals out to be a higher percentage of on our offensive side, and all of those combined have put us in a really good position the last couple of weeks on that streak.
So a couple nights ago up at Minot State, you lost the first set and then rallied for a 3-1 win. As I was digging through that box score, I noticed that your key contributors were one senior, a couple juniors, and then sophomore and freshman. I guess talk about your roster and kind of how much you have a young guns type of roster right now.
Yeah, it's been really fun to see again that progress just from freshman year is tough, let alone in this conference, and to be having some of our freshmen step up in that way is a really fun thing to see. And a lot of our sophomores even right now are freshmen on the court. They got a modified season last year with COVID and all of those things, and so yeah, we are really young, and it's fun to see. It's kind of a little bit of a no fear attitude with this group right now. They're kind of like, let's go see what we can do, and they put the work in to do that, so it's fun.
We're visiting with Abby Pollard, the first-year head coach at the University of Mary women's volleyball team. And one of the young ladies I wanted to ask you about is Cameron Selvig, your sophomore setter, a Jamestown High School product, former North Dakota Senior Athlete of the Year, North Dakota Gatorade Volleyball Player of the Year, team leader in assists. So I reference her, but I just want to kind of turn that into a question about how do you go about ensuring those in-state, those local kids, those talented kids want to become student athletes at the University of Mary and play volleyball for your program?
Yeah, to answer that one, I think a big part of it is one, getting involved in the community. We've tried to make it out to as many of the high school matches as we can this fall and just kind of make our faces be known in the community in that way. And then, camps in the summer are a big way to kind of establish those relationships with some of our local kids and inviting some of those that we think might be top tier in the future years. And it is a big thing, fans want to see local athletes be successful in local areas at a high level. And so, to get those athletes, especially a kid like Cameron, who's just a sponge and an athletic kid who just keeps getting better each week. It's, that's crucial to the success of the program for sure.
Well, and for us on the PSP network, one of our new ventures this fall has been being able to broadcast volleyball here in the capital city, and we've been blessed. I mean, the talent level, the competitiveness, and the fact that the Bismarck-Mandan teams right here in our own town play a high level of North Dakota Class A volleyball. So I guess in some respects, you're kind of right on top of a good hotbed here for volleyball skills.
Yeah, for sure. There is a competitive nature here for sure in volleyball, and a lot of history of success in a lot of these programs here. So it's really fun to watch night in and night out when we get our opportunity to be out there. And like I said, it's one of those, as long as we can convince them to stay a little bit locally and not go far from home for college, it's a bonus for sure.
One of the other gals I wanted to ask you about is one of your veterans, Natalia Cruz, a fifth-year senior, and she does a little bit of everything for your team. So I guess talk about her overall contributions. Yeah,
Nat is a young woman who, like you said, has been in the program for a handful of years and has gone through a handful of changes and, has just stuck with the belief in the system that is Marauder Athletics. And her ability, her ball control ability is huge. I mean, we can use her in the back row. She can keep the ball and play and hit some really nice shots for us in the front row and is a vocal leader for us in that way as well. So, like you said, she's kind of a little bit of a Swiss Army knife for us and can kind of do just about anything we need her to.
So let's visit about this weekend a little bit. You got a home match tonight, 6 p.m. out at the McDowell Activity Center against Moorhead State, but it's also alumni weekend. So as a new coach, how do you go about kind of connecting and inviting and respecting and celebrating with those Marauders women's volleyball alumni?
Yeah, I mean, we're starting with this weekend and starting a little bit small and just trying to get our feet wet in that, but big thing, we talk a lot about to our current young women about the fact that like they would not be here if it weren't for the contributions of those that came before them, and to stand on the building blocks of which those women have established previously is an honor for our current young women and for our staff. And so just to continue to talk about that, and then when we get the chance to hear their stories and what it was like to be a Marauder, and that's an exciting thing, and it's fun to see where they are now and how Marauder volleyball helped establish their lives, and so getting to know as many of them as possible is a big thing, and I think it's huge to have that interaction between former and current.
Big day today for UMary sports. Obviously, the football team's in action. A lot of teams in action over the course of the weekend. So you get a pre-Halloween match tonight against the Moorhead State Dragons. And hey, what do you know about them? And what are some of the keys for UMary to kind of look to extend that winning streak to 4 out on the hill tonight?
Yeah, Moorhead is a really solid team. They're going to be pretty big up front. One of the biggest keys for us, and something we've talked about pretty consistently all season, is we need to control our side and remain and establish what we do well. And so some big things for us for that tonight is going to be, Cameron doing a good job of moving that ball around in the front line and making sure that, we have a balanced offense to keep the Moorhead block on their toes. And then really making sure that we win that serve pass battle. We need to serve aggressively, and then we need to pass really well. And those 3 things are going to be big for us tonight.
I wanted to ask you about one other gal that's putting up big numbers, seemingly on a night in and night out basis. Nikaya Ellis, junior outside hitter. Boy, she's a stat sheet stuffer for your team just about every night.
Yeah, Nikaya is really starting to establish herself, and it's been fun to see. I had the pleasure of helping to recruit Nikaya when I was here as an assistant, so I've kind of seen her come full circle, and to see her being able to kind of carry a little bit of a weight in terms of the offensive lineup and making sure that when we need a kill, she's kind of our go-to right now, and she's getting that done, and she's wearing that. So and she's getting it done all the way around for us. We can trust her in serve receive, and she's digging up really, really good balls for us as well. So she's fun to be around. She brings a lot of energy. She plays with a really heavy competitive spirit, and has a heavy arm. She's been really connecting well. Her and Cameron have established a really nice connection the last few weeks, so that's been fun to see.
So I don't know if you've had a chance to look ahead, Coach, but after tonight, just 5 more matches on the regular season schedule. So you talked about a whirlwind. I bet you it has been a bit of a blur for you and maybe for everybody where this season has gone.
Yeah, it definitely has. With 5 left, and it's kind of bing, bang, boom. We have 1 tonight, 1 on Tuesday. We're on the road next week. It's arguably the longest road trip we have in the conference, clear over to Winona, Minnesota, and Upper Iowa. And then we turn around and host for our last home matches. So it's a lot in a short amount of time. And so we're just keeping bodies healthy and trying to keep everybody fresh here with quick turnaround. But yeah, it is. It's hard to believe. We were talking as a staff the other day. We were like, holy Toledo, it's already November. We're not quite sure how that happened. So
yeah, as a staff, as a head coach, what are you kind of getting these waning moments of the regular season? What are some of the things you want to see out of your team here in the final week and a half of competition in the regular season?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, to see us be more consistently, for as awkward as that sounds, to continue to increase that level. I'd love for our block to get a little bit more established here in the next few weeks. We're getting some really nice touches, but to finalize some of those and in some points with blocks would be some nice things to see here. And again, staying aggressive on the service line, passing well, and then just moving our offense around quickly. We like to use it as a pretty fast-paced offense, so to continue to establish that and see that connection would be really fun for the next couple weeks here.
Hey, Coach, that was great. We certainly appreciate the time. Best of luck to the Marauders team as you look to extend this winning streak tonight and then throughout the course of the season. Appreciate the time this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
That's head coach Abby Pollard from the University Women's Volleyball team joining us here as we wrap up the 11 o'clock hour from the Stadium Lodge. Live Saturdays, overtime with Scott Woodmansee. When we come back, we'll catch up with one of the capital city's own, Kenyon Wingenbach, the new West Fargo Cheyenne girls basketball coach. We'll catch up with Kenyon and have more after this timeout on the PSP Network.
farm or business succession. Planning Team Financial Advisors is here to help you work toward achieving your financial goals. With locations in Bismarck, Garrison, and Center, our full-service team of professionals are dedicated to helping you work towards achieving your financial goals. Visit us online, planningteam.com. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member of FINRA and SIPC. Investment advice offered through GWM Advisors, LLC, doing business as Goss Advisors, a registered investment advisor. GWM Advisors, LLC, and Planning Team Financial Advisors are separate entities from LPL Financial.
North Dakota Safety Council is dedicated to preventing injuries and saving lives by offering hundreds of safety courses. The NDSC helps workers return home safely every night and make sure schools are ready for any emergency. Our first aid training and defensive driving courses help save lives. We empower people through personal protection courses and operational risk assessments for businesses. We're a private, nonprofit organization committed to making North Dakota's homes, schools, communities, workplaces, and roads the safest in the nation. Learn more at ndsc.org.
Never fade, especially from a high school rivalry game. Hi, I'm Brock Shook with First Western Bank and Trust. Throughout school sports history, the familiar names and faces may change, but legacies live on, achievements remembered. As your community bank, First Western Bank and Trust celebrates your victories with you. We want to wish all the local teams good luck in their athletic endeavors this season. Be safe on the court, field, rink, and in the gym. First Western Bank and Trust. You can bank on us. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Radio broadcast presentation on the PSP Network is brought to you by BNC National Bank, Subway, Hub International Insurance, The Medicine Shop, Bismarck State College, Bobcat of Mandan, Tires Plus, Chuppy Chiropractic Clinic, Bismarck LASIK, and Planning Team Financial Advisors. Make sure to stay up to date with all things high school athletics at psp.network. Make sure to like and follow PSP Network on all social media platforms. PSP Network, it's game day.
Got big plans? No matter what the size of the project, Bobcat of Mandan has a tough Bobcat skid steer or track loader for any job. Call Bobcat of Mandan and rent the perfect machine. Rentals are available by the day, week, or month with multiple attachment options and even a trailer when available. Special weekend rates too. Bobcat of Mandan also has Doosan excavators and payloaders, plus Coyote tractors for rent. Get the work done fast. Bobcat of Mandan on the Strip.
Overtime with Scott Woodmansee.
Todd Domrey's Nick Holberg filling in for Scott Woodmansee. It's overtime with Scott Woodmansee, who's on assignment following the Fighting Hawks Hockey USA Hall of Fame game tonight in Nashville. Woody and Chuck down rooting on UND as they take on Penn State. And we turn to the 11 o'clock hour, and we focus our attention now on one of the capital city's own, Kenyon Wingenbach, the new head girls basketball coach at West Fargo Cheyenne. Top of the morning, Kenyon. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, I appreciate the time, as always. And I guess, Coach, I know you always like to tweet it out, but how many days until basketball season starts?
We are at 23 today. 23 days still to start a practice.
23 days. That I love how you do that, and the way you incorporate the kids and the program and fun facts and whatnot. But, hey, I guess how's the transition been so far, and are you getting acclimated to the blue and orange of the Cheyenne Mustangs?
Yeah, I've embraced the accent black as well, so I had a lot of navy that doesn't really go with this color scheme here, but new wardrobe and the kids are great. They're excited and ready to go. We've gotten in the gym for a couple open gyms, and it's a really promising group of kids. They got a lot of experience coming back, but we're still young. It's kind of a nice combo. So as far as basketball, everything's everything's looking good. And then our transition just to the city and to teaching has been really, really great as well. I love the school system, and we're really happy with everything so far.
Yeah, and I guess for you as a graduate of Moorhead State, you're not completely unfamiliar with the West Fargo, Moorhead metro area, so to speak.
Yeah, so I went to NDSU for a year, and then I transferred to MSUM. I coached football at Shanley during my time at MSUM with Steve Lockway, who's now the MSUM head football coach. So, yeah, I have a little experience in the area, and I kind of knew what we were getting into when we moved here. And my wife lived here for a year or two as well. So, definitely not brand new to the area, but it's a great place to live.
Yeah, and heck, right now, based on the multi-sport success that West Fargo Cheyenne is having in a variety of sports this fall already, it's a pretty good time to be part of the Mustang family, is it not?
It is, and Tom Kujafner and I were talking about that on the way to the clinic we're at. It's really, really exciting, and especially after that weird COVID year with attendance and things like that. You can just see the school community come together, and the fan sections for the volleyball games and the football games, and it's just been fun. There's a buzz around the school, and it's fun to be a part of that, and we hope we can keep it going.
So, Kenyon, you had a chance to work with your team a little bit this summer, as you just mentioned. But what I want to ask you is this: as a first-year head coach, how do you start establishing that foundation for your program? I mean, do you take a little bit of the stuff that was already in place? Do you wipe the cupboard bare? Do you bring some of the things that you did from your time as an assistant with the Century Patriots? And hey, how do you go about building that kind of environment and culture that you want to have for your team?
Yeah, it's a great question. And for me, I just kind of took a lot of time to reflect on what my team would end up looking like. And I've been surrounded by Hall of Fame coaches my whole coaching career, which I've gotten extremely lucky with. And so just taking kind of what they do and how that reflects them as people, but then taking those ideas and making them my own was the challenge, because you can't replicate somebody else's program. There's no way you can run somebody else's program. So you have to take what works and figure out how you want to do things to reflect how the values that you live out every day. And then as far as basketball is concerned, there's a certain style of play that I gravitate towards, whether I'm watching, D1 college basketball or whether I'm watching high school. And that's not going to change. And that's going to be a little different than what these girls are used to playing at this school. And I'm not saying that what they were doing before was wrong. It just doesn't fit how I see the game. And we're going to be a lot more man-to-man, which is going to be a lot different. And offensively, I'm just kind of open. They're more offensive-minded, and I just kind of want to give them a little more freedom on that end. But we're going to get after it defensively, and hopefully get out in transition a little bit as well.
Hey, folks, if you don't know that Kenyon Wingenbach knows the game of basketball, that answer right there just solidified the deal. Hey, Coach, we'll get back to basketball in 1 second, but I got to ask you about football for just a moment. Of course, your dad is the longtime head coach for the Century Patriots. You were his assistant for many years, and we were at the West Fargo Cheyenne Century game a couple weeks ago, covering it on the PSP network. I saw you in the stands, I guess. Hey, talk about that experience in the stands with the blue and orange on, watching your dad coach the Century Patriots. That had to be one of those kind of unique, interesting things that you had to kind of get through for a first time.
Yeah, it was interesting, but like I had mentioned before, when I coached at Shanley, that was in the late 2000s. So that was when Shanley was still in the top league, and we actually played Century both times. So I've coached against him, which is even weirder, because you're watching film and you kind of know what he likes to do offensively, and then you're going to try to use that against him. And this, I got to support him. Those are still guys that I communicate with, and the coaching staff especially. But even some of those guys like Brady Dahl, my quarterback, Kyan Barth is the backup. Those guys were in those were my guys last year, and so I wasn't rooting against them, but I told everybody I was just rooting for the offenses, and that didn't work out either because there was only 14 total points. So it was a great high school football game, and that night I think the better team won, and I think my dad would agree with that. And they're going to be on a collision course hopefully in a couple weeks, and we'll see another great matchup. But either way, I knew it was going to be all right because somebody had to win, and I tried to stay a little neutral and just kind of enjoy the show, and I'll always support my dad.
We're visiting with Kenyon Wingenbach, the head girls basketball coach at West Fargo Cheyenne. And so, Coach, I know you coached against West Fargo Cheyenne in the past. Anything about Cheyenne that's been a surprise to you now that you're, so to speak, inside the ropes?
What I've realized is it's not a lot different than the types of kids we coached at Century. It's very similar as far as the size of the school. The only difference, it seems to be, I don't know what it is out east, but the players are just bigger, taller. They're just, I'll have 4 6-footers. I've got a 6'3" sophomore coming out. There's a 6'3" 8th grader. That's going to be pretty good. So that's going to be different because at Century, obviously, we had Lauren Ware at 6'5", but other than that, I can only think of maybe one year where we had 3 posts that were in the rotation a lot. So it's going to be a little different style offensively, and we can maybe use some of that length defensively. But I've been really pleased with just the type of people these kids are. I had a crazy transition this summer living in Bismarck and driving here every week, and they were totally supportive of me and just really good with my kids when I brought my kids around. So kids are kids, and these kids are amazing, and that's why I do this. It makes me a better person. It makes me feel great about going to work every day.
So, Coach, I'm glad you mentioned Lauren Ware because I noticed that she was at one of your Cheyenne camps this summer. And as a coach, one of the most rewarding things must be when your former players go on to have life successes. And it's pretty amazing the stuff that Lauren is doing right now and what she has done already since her high school career.
Yes, she is a very unique talent. But she is an amazing person, and I reached out to her and just said, would there be any way when you're back for 2 weeks, if you could come help me out? And right away, she was like, yes, that I would do that 100%. So she drove from Bismarck to West Fargo and hung out with us for a day and worked with some of our kids and worked on some post moves. And then we had a pizza party, and we asked her questions, and it was a really neat experience for the kids, but especially for me, for her to support me in this new spot. And, it's really cool. And then that was before she tried out for that U.S. under-19 team. And she was one of the last kids. She had to go back for an extra tryout after she came and worked with us. And then she was one of the last kids to make the team and then started every game for that gold medal team. And if that doesn't tell you everything about Lauren, she's not going to light up the scoreboard with, 25 points and 15 rebounds, but she's going to do everything that coaches love. She's going to communicate. She's going to get everybody in the right position. She's the ultimate team player. And, coaches love those kids, especially when they're 6'5" and really athletic.
Yeah. Hey, Coach, if I have the timing right, I think you're just finishing up watching a Golden Gophers practice. You mentioned you're attending a coaching clinic. What's that experience been like for you and the other folks from the West Fargo staff attending?
Yeah, so Tom Kuchofner and I and a couple guys from his staff came yesterday morning to the Minnesota Basketball Coaches Association clinic in the cities, and yesterday we left at 4 a.m. to see Dave Richmond talk at 9. I'm thinking maybe we could have just driven to his house earlier in the week for like, a 5-minute drive, but we came here. He was amazing, and he kicked off the clinic, and then they had some big names here. They had Jim Boylan, who was a former Chicago Bulls coach. He's now coaching for Team USA in their qualifier. Lon Kruger, Hall of Fame college coach that just retired from Oklahoma. And so we got some on-court stuff at the Target Center yesterday. We're now at open practice for the Gopher men was in the morning here, and then the women are about to start. And it's so close. We're 23 days away, and to immerse yourself in basketball for these like 36 hours has been awesome. And then bouncing ideas off of Tom and his staff, and it's just been a really cool experience.
So I'm glad you mentioned Tom, because I know firsthand, Coach, how you like to use basketball stats and analytics, and I get the sense that Tom Kirchhoffner is the same mold. So have you guys had a chance to anchor down in each other's offices and dig into basketball analytics and metrics?
Oh yeah. It's kind of when we talk about basketball, it usually just gravitates towards the numbers of the game. Like it's not really an opinion. It's a fact-based thing that you can go to, and he's very strong into especially the offensive side. And then a lot of our defensive principles come from the analytics we've used as well. So he views the game a little differently than I do, as far as just how he sees things. He sees things, I think, usually through an offensive lens, and mine is more defensive. So it is kind of interesting to bounce some ideas off of him. And I've seen his teams play the last couple of years. They have a really good thing going, and we're hoping that we can kind of match that success relatively shortly here as well.
All right, Coach. Hey, last question for you. I know you got to run, but you said it's 23 days until basketball. You gave us a sneak peek into the style you want to play, but hey, do you have some future Miss Basketball candidates walking the halls at Cheyenne High School?
Possibly. We'll see how quickly they can adapt to the varsity game. There is one that I think she'll be a junior this year. I felt like she should have, after watching film and looking at some stats and some comparing to the rest of the East, Maya Metcalf. She's getting a lot of Division II looks. I know Mary is after, and MSUM are too, but she's a very strong presence in the post. She's about 6'2", and she's one that I would keep my eye on, especially just the fact that she's going to be front and center of our program. So, but there's kids coming up. We just got to get the numbers up in our program and keep everybody interested and everybody working, and hopefully, if we can find some success, some of that excitement will build the numbers even more, and then that's kind of how it works. So. It's strength by numbers, and my goal is to get 4, 5, 6 teams rolling at Cheyenne, and find some teams to play and get everybody going.
Hey, Coach, I certainly appreciate the time. Always enjoy visiting with you. And, hey, best of luck to the Cheyenne girls basketball team this winter. And best wishes to you, Cassidy, and your family as you get settled into the West Fargo community.
Well, I really appreciate you having me on and all the support from Bismarck. And it's always great to catch up with you, Tom.
All right, thanks a lot, Kenyon. That's Kenyon Wingenbach, the head girls basketball coach at West Fargo Cheyenne High School. Good to have him joining us, as always, as we'll have one more segment here. We'll put a wrap on Overtime with Scott Woodmansee. When we come back, we'll catch up with the head coach of the Grant County Flasher Storm. That's Jamie Krenz. Overtime with Scott Woodmansee on assignment concludes after this timeout.
planning for farm or business succession? Planning Team Financial Advisors is here to help you work toward achieving your financial goals. With locations in Bismarck, Garrison, and Center, our full-service team of professionals are dedicated to helping you work towards achieving your financial goals. Visit us online, planningteam.com. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member of FINRA and SIPC. Investment advice offered through GWM Advisors, LLC, doing business as Goss Advisors, a registered investment advisor. GWM Advisors, LLC, and Planning Team Financial Advisors are separate entities from LPL Financial.
He's been here for over 25 years.
We're still a community bank that's there for you.
When you come in with your business plan, your vision, your idea, we can make it a reality.
I love seeing projects come alive for our clients.
We're real people helping real people.
We know you, and we're always happy to see you.
We build relationships. You're part of the BNC family.
We are part of the community.
It's what we're built on.
Yours truly, BNC.
Overtime with Scott Woodmansee.
Hey, we're back at the Stadium Lodge. It's overtime with Scott Woodmansee. Todd Domrey's filling in today for Scott, who's on assignment in Nashville at the Fighting Hawks hockey matchup today against Penn State, and we're pleased now to be joined by the head coach of the Grant County Flasher Storm, and that's Jamie Krenz. And Coach, you got a big game with Lemoore, probably just getting off the bus. Congratulations getting there this far, and top of the morning to you.
Hey, good morning to you. It's always good to get a call from you or Mr. Woodmansee. It means we're probably doing something right. You guys seem to never call when we're 1-7, so this is a good call.
Congratulations, Coach. And you came into the playoffs as the number 3 seed, and your team has found a way now to pick up a couple playoff wins in, I'll say, convincing fashion. So, hey, congratulations on the 2 playoff wins so far, and I guess talk about what has been working for the Storm, at least in these 2 playoff games.
Oh, I appreciate that. I think we're playing our best football offensively and defensively right now. We've had shutouts 2 out of the last 3 games. So we're playing good football, and that's what you want heading into the playoffs.
And talk about early season. I know you had a team that had 8 seniors last year and a young football team coming back this year. Started 1-3 and now have been 5-1 since then. So what has kind of changed from those first 4 games of the season for your football team?
Yeah, we've only got 2 seniors in Jace Freeze and Owen Earhart. So we had to replace those 8 players, like you said, from last year's region championship team. So it was kind of a race to maturity. We started off 1-3, but we just kept plugging away, and guys needed to get those valuable game reps, and we've slowly progressed and gotten better week by week, I believe.
And now you're kind of on a revenge tour, right? I mean, you opened the playoffs with a win over South Border, who had beaten you in those first 4 games of the year. Then you shut out Hettinger-Scranton down in Hettinger, a couple playoff road wins against teams that had defeated you earlier in the season.
Yeah, that was nice to see that our guys had really showed some improvement. That first game of South Border, they had a new coaching staff, and they did a really good job. They outcoached us, outworked us. And the same type of deal the first time we played Hettinger-Scranton. They just took it to us, and I think that was kind of our wake-up call that we needed to start playing Storm football, and that's what we've been doing the last few weeks.
Visiting with Grant County Flasher Storm head football coach Jamie Krenz, as his team is in the 9B football playoffs today, taking on the Lemoore Lobos. And hey, Coach, before we get to the Lobos, I want to talk about, you got a roster of right around 25 kids based on what I could tell. And it takes all 25 to be successful, especially in 9B. But I want to talk about one young man, Jace Freeze, your senior quarterback, and just talk about the season that young man has had.
Super kid. Jace has led us to the playoffs the last 3 years, quarterfinals 2 out of the last 3 years, region champs last year. Terrific football player, but I always tell people he's even a better kid. Honor student, works extremely hard, and is always positive. Very coachable. He went to 9 football camps this past summer, so that shows you the work ethic this kid has. He went everywhere from NDSU to UND to Montana State, University of Montana, South Dakota State, U of Mary, Valley City. He just puts the work in, and our kids really gravitate towards him. He's just a great leader for us and brings a lot of juice.
And it sounded like you had a little bit of the injury bug early in the season. So what's the health of the team now as you've kind of advanced on in the playoffs here?
Yeah, we're healthy now. Layden Woodbury is he was involved in 2 sports this fall. He was a rodeo and football, and he was a little banged up early on. He's a bullfighter. He's the youngest bullfighter to be selected to the North Dakota Rodeo Association finals. So we've got him back, and he's healthy now, and he's been playing lights out on defense for us. So that's been huge.
Well, how many bullfighters have you coached in your 25 years coaching football down there for the Storm?
I think this is the only bullfighter, but we've had quite a few rodeo kids that have, and they're tough kids, and they play hard for us. Yeah,
exactly. It's not bad to have rodeo kids, wrestlers. Those guys are the kind of the glue of what makes up a lot of football teams.
Yeah, I would take as many of them I could get. So yeah, they're good athletes, and they show a lot of toughness.
And, we mentioned Jace Freeze. Obviously, you got a freeze-to-freeze connection. And talk about the relationship between those 2 kids. And it almost seems like they have a sixth sense when they're on the football field.
Those 2 are really close. They spend a lot of time working on their game. Javin's got 8 rushing touchdowns. He's got 34 receptions, 10 TDs receiving. He's our leading rusher and receiver. Those 2 are both just great kids, and they work extremely hard. 2 of our hardest workers.
Well, let's talk a little bit about today's opponents. Obviously, the deeper you get in the playoffs, the teams don't get any easier. And today, I think that would be about the task for Grant County Flasher Storm as you take on the team that was number 1 when the preseason poll came out, and they're still number 1 wire to wire, the Lemoore Lobos. And as you've broken down Lemoore and gotten ready for today's matchup, what has stood out for you as you start thinking about your matchup against Lemoore today?
I think somebody asked me yesterday, what does Lemoore do well? Are they big? Are they fast? They run the ball? They pass the ball? Or they play good D? And I said, yes, all the above. And they're well coached. So we're going to have our hands full, but we're looking forward to taking a shot at them. Like you said, they are the number 1 team, and for a reason. They're really good, and they look really good on film.
Do you talk to the kids at all about, Lemoore was undefeated last year and got knocked off on their home field in the semifinals by Linton HMB. Is that something that you even bring up to the kids just to kind of plant that seed in their heads that, hey, this is not one of these situations where a team cannot be beaten?
Oh, absolutely. They're a 9-man football team just like we are. But we need to make them play some defense and try to limit their possessions, and their offense is so solid that, we got to get 9 guys around the ball, get people to the ground, and attack the football. We can't be on our heels. They're going to make plays. That's what we preach to our guys, but we got to just keep hanging in there, and we need to give them a 4-quarter battle.
Yeah, and as I've watched Lemoore a little bit this year, the one thing, they can spread you out, and they got good, talented kids. But boy, that battering ram they have as a running back, Lettenmeyer, he's a load, and I think what you just said about getting a lot of hats on him is going to be a key to slowing that attack down, at least their rushing attack.
Absolutely, they run a power A gap, the old Bison play. They run it well. They're well coached up front, and they get off the ball. So we've got to play some good football to be in this game.
Hey, take us through the rest of the morning, Coach. I know you're just getting off the bus. And what are you going to do between now and kickoff for getting the Storm ready to play today?
Well, as soon as we get done here, we'll end up having a team meeting and going through some things we want to make sure we're doing and getting our heads right. And then about an hour before the game, we'll take specialty out on the field and then start getting ready to roll.
Hey, I mentioned that depth, and talk about that aspect of your football team. Obviously in 9B, teams probably aren't blessed with the greatest depth just because there's numbers probably for every school. But how is the depth developed for your team, especially starting the season with such a young ball club?
Yeah, correct. And, but the nice thing is we ended up playing a lot of guys early on, and we had some injuries. So some guys had to step in. So we feel really good now. We've developed some depth. So, if we do unfortunate to have an injury, we've got some guys that have got some playing reps and ready to step in for us.
One last thing for you, Coach. you get in that team meeting, you get in those huddles. What's some of the last things that you're going to tell your team as you get ready to take on the number one team in the state today?
Biggest thing is have a heck of a lot of fun and let her rip. I mean, we got to give it everything you got, empty the tank, and, let's play 4 quarters of Storm football, and we'll see what happens.
Hey, congratulations on a great season thus far, Coach. Hey, I don't know if you realize this, the Region 6, you're the last seed standing. Well, you defeated the number 1 seed, so what the heck? But you got the weight of the Region 6 on your shoulders today.
We've got some really great coaches in Region 6, and they've all reached out and they're rooting for us. So we're kind of playing for them as well. So we appreciate the support we've been getting.
Hey, best of luck today, Coach. Thanks for the time, and we hope to catch up with you down the road, maybe even at the Dakota Bowl. We'd love to see the Storm and cover you on the PSP network.
That would be fantastic, and if Mr. Woodmansee's not on vacation, maybe he can give us a call.
All right, sounds good. Best of luck today, Coach.
Thank you, Todd.
Hey, that's Jamie Krenz, the head coach of the Grant County Flasher Storm, as his team gets set to take on the Lemoore Lobos in a 2 p.m. kickoff today from Lemoore. Our overtime show with Scott Woodmansee rolls on. When we come back, we will put a wrap on today's overtime session, and we'll get you set up for our upcoming coverage later on today on the PSP Network. More after this timeout on Overtime.
Service financial plan or planning for farm or business succession. Planning Team Financial Advisors is here to help you work toward achieving your financial goals. With locations in Bismarck, Garrison, and Center, our full-service team of professionals are dedicated to helping you work towards achieving your financial goals. Visit us online, planningteam.com. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member of FINRA and SIPC. Investment advice offered through GWM Advisors, LLC, doing business as Goss Advisors, a registered investment advisor. GWM Advisors, LLC, and Planning Team Financial Advisors are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Big plans? No matter what the size of the project, Bobcat of Mandan has a tough Bobcat skid steer or track loader for any job. Call Bobcat of Mandan and rent the perfect machine. Rentals are available by the day, week, or month with multiple attachment options, and even a trailer when available. Special weekend rates too. Bobcat of Mandan also has Doosan excavators and payloaders, plus Coyote tractors for rent. Get the work done fast. Bobcat of Mandan on the Strip.
Let's go back to the stadium and overtime with Scott Woodmansee.
Todd Domrey's Nick Hulberg back at the Stadium Lodge, putting a wrap on overtime with Scott Woodmansee. Scott always says how fast the show goes, and Nick, I don't know if you felt like, but I felt like it went like that to me today.
Yeah, it really did. And the kicker for me was that the stadium opens up here at 11 o'clock, which was a few moments ago, 33 minutes ago. I tried the quesadilla here for the first time ever. I wish I would have slowed down maybe a little bit on the show here today when you were talking to Coach Krenz there. Yeah, it does go quick. And by the way, thanks to all those coaches for coming on and joining us for the show each and every week. I love some of those comments. You talked to Wingenbach and that comment of, I'm cheering for both offenses. And he talks about that. And then at the end of it, I about brought a tear to my eye. It about brought a tear to my eye when he says, I'm always going to support Dad. Yep. It's those things like that what sports bring to you and your life and all the way around, TD, I think is really, really something special. And, mottos to live by, like Coach Krenz just said, talking about their game plan for today. They're going to make sure, number one, to go out and have fun, the most fun they've ever had, and they're going to give it their all, leave it all out there. What a motto to live by right there. Fantastic stuff. Great job to you as well here today, too, TD.
Yeah, hey, you can't beat the food. Nick had the quesadilla. I just mowed down a grinder myself. They got the game day cook-off going on today for a couple hours right up until the Bison kickoff. So lots of great things happening at the Stadium Lodge. Our thanks to them for hosting us each week for overtime. And Danny and the team here will take care of you. Great food, drinks, sports. What else could you ask for right here at the Stadium Lodge? Hey, our coverage continues today on the PSP Network. We're going to pack up the show. We're going to haul the U-Haul, the minibus, all of our equipment. We'll have the big camera set up out in New Salem today. We'll have New Salem Elmont Holsteins hosting the Divide County Maroons in a 9-man, 9B playoff quarterfinal matchup, as that one should be a dandy. You'll catch it at 2 o'clock here on the PSP Network. 1:40 pregame show for that one. And next Tuesday we'll be on the air for volleyball action from Century High School as the Minot Majets come to town. That's a 7 o'clock start from Century High School. You can watch that one live on the PSP Network.
Yeah, and big news also, TD, Scott Cattell up in Minot, who a long-time radio personality up in the Magic City, who used to do the Scott on Sports every Wednesday night at his old employer, is now going to be doing the Scotty K Show, just like this. Scott Woodmansee from the stadium, the Scotty K Show from Spicy Pie, and that will be a pretty good touch on Region 6 athletics at North Central North Dakota as well, starting next Wednesday, 7 o'clock from the Spicy Pie. So mark that one down as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we're talking food again. I'm almost getting hungry again. Spicy Pie, that's great stuff. Hey, thanks to all of our coaches for joining us today here on Overtime. Tim Hartshee, the North Border Eagles, your 6-man football champions in North Dakota. Roger Coleman, his team from Minot Bishop Ryan, plays football tonight against Velva Garrison in Minot. Abby Pollard, the first-year head coach for the University of Mary women's volleyball team. Kenyon Wingenbach from West Fargo Cheyenne girls basketball. And we rounded out our coverage today on an abbreviated show with Jamie Krenz from Grant County's Flasher football as his Storm take on Lemoore Litchfield Marion today. Abbreviated show because, as always, we pack things up and head out to New Salem and bring a 2 o'clock broadcast to you today. Hey, thanks for joining us. For Scott Woodmansee, Nick Hulberg, Todd Domry saying so long from the Stadium Lodge. This is the Overtime with Scott Woodmansee.
Presentation of the PSP Network. We thank you for listening to Overtime with Scott Woodmansee, live from the stadium. Make sure to head to the social media platforms for the PSP Network to like and follow, to stay up to date with all things sports in Western North Dakota. PSP Network, it's game day.